Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's been a couple days since I've done a video. It's not because I didn't care or anything else. There's a lot going on. I had a scare the other day where I had to go to the hospital because I've been having like stabbing pains in my chest for a couple days, or actually almost 2 weeks now. And I still have it whenever I move and expand and contract and kind of like grab stuff and things like that. And I didn't think too much of it for like the last week and a half, but then it started getting kind of worse and progressively worse and progressively worse. So one day, I think it was Wednesday, it just sort of like 80 of them, bam, 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 bam. And it just kept happening and kept, not bam, 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 ooh, that kind of thing. So it kept happening. And so I went ahead and I was in Pittsburgh, California, and I live up in the mountains. And so I had to drive from Pittsburgh all the way up in the mountains because I wanted to go to the hospital, emergency room close to my house in case things happen. You know, as everybody knows, I'm going through a divorce and I don't have a lot of people up here to take my Boston Terrier. So I wanted to make sure I was close to home as much as possible. So I got up there. They did a CT scan with contrast. They did an X-ray. They did blood work. They did EKG on me. And the only thing I hate about going wherever I go to like emergency rooms is that they always, you know, I'm 58 years old. So, and you guys that are older like me will identify with this. Every time you go for a thing, they find another thing. They're like, no, we can't find the cause of that, but we detected. So that's always a pain in the butt whenever that happens, and it does happen quite a bit. So I got cysts on my liver, which I think I already knew about that already, no big deal. But I got bronchial nodules, and I guess that's from maybe whenever I was smoking a lot. I haven't smoked. I smoke cigars like once every 2 weeks, but I used to smoke cigarettes all the time and vape all the time too. So it's just part of the price. I mean, if we do things that hurt our body when we're younger, then we get older, and all of a sudden, bam, we're gonna have to pay the piper eventually. So no regret. Just didn't want to hurt, and I didn't know if I was having a heart attack at that moment. But supposedly my heart's great, so I have to give a referral. Hospital emergency rooms are only to make sure they're basically just to make sure you're not dying right now, and they get you back out there. They don't diagnose and prognose and create treatment plans and stuff. They just say, okay, you're stable, go home. So I'm going to set up an appointment with my primary care physician, and I've already got a call out for Stanford for a phone video meeting, but that's not till February, so that kind of sinks. But again, I'm not dying, so yay, I'll be able to continue to do some of these videos. Today's video is going to be labeled "No Means No," and a lot of times we've always heard, and I just wanted to get that other part out first. But a lot of times we hear about no means no whenever it comes to women and sex. No means no. But you know what? No means no all the way around. No means no all the way around. It doesn't mean sex only. It means whenever another person says no, they mean no. So the other part of that too, the inverse of that is if you say no, you got to stand by that no. And that's hard to do in divorces because remember we talked about the pendulum swinging and you'll feel real strong about something like that. And you're like, no, I want this divorce, or no, you can't come over here, or no, I'm not going to see you, or no, this, no, that, no, that. And then the pendulum swings. And then oh, yeah, I miss you, come on. Um, and I'm not saying there's a balance between what is right to do in the process of a divorce, because some people are able to reconcile and work things out. They are able to do that. But when you split up physically and you're living in different places and starting to live different lives, that drops down to like 4 to 5%. So most people don't. It just doesn't happen. And once the divorce is done, it's like 2% people reconcile. But what happens is those people have got to go out and sow their wild oats and do whatever they want. And then they find out, oh, the grass wasn't as green around the other side as I thought. Most of the time, you know, as I understand anyhow in the books that I've read and everything, the one that leaves is already going to a relationship. They're already going into that thing. And we've talked about that whenever it came to women, is that before they even move out, their 6 month plan. They got a 6 month plan. They've already invested in that. They got a soft landing somewhere else. And there's probably sometimes often a guy, because women need security. They want emotional stability and they want to be protected. And they like that, you know, and if they felt like, you know, something was lacking in that marriage, or they were just selfish bitches, which does happen sometimes. But sometimes it's things that are lacking. My opinion is that if you're not happy in a marriage, you divorce. You don't go cheat and you don't go flirting. You just divorce. That's what you do. So what I want to get to is the no means no topic is going to correlate back to what I was going to say about whenever I went to the emergency room. So I have autoimmune disease. I've had a couple different things happening over the last 9 years. You know, we all get older. And I wanted to share the experience that I had is that, you know, when I was there, when I turned myself in, I was kind of scared. I'm not going to lie, because, you know, you never know when your time is. You just never know when it's going to happen. And I was by myself. And for the first time, I had to first time in 17 years anyhow, I had to turn myself into an emergency room by myself up in the hills where I don't have family up here. I just don't. My closest family from where that hospital is an hour and a half away. And they got their own lives. They got everything else. Of course, they would come and claim my body or something like that. Or if I was dying, they would come. But as support, it's a little bit hard to ask them to come up and see me. And I've only got, I got one that lives in Reno. That's 3 hours away. Got one that lives somewhere in Sacramento County. That's an hour and a half. Another one back in Stockton. But where I was at is Amador Hospital. And everybody's far away. So I got really scared and I got really sad, And when I say scared, just because the fact that I guess more sad than scared, but it kind of bothered me. It showed itself with a little bit of physical symptoms. Like I was kind of, oh man, I just can't believe this. And it was kind of a sad emotion. It was a really, really sad emotion at that moment because of the fact that I was walking this path by myself and I didn't know what to do. And, and I was texting my ex because of the fact that we do have an agreement that if something happens, we both, regardless of what kind of BS is going on in the divorce process, is that some things are off limits. And what's off limits is hiding emergencies from each other. If something happens to my mom, I should tell her. If something happens to her mom, she should tell me. If something happens to me, I should tell her. If something happens to her, she should tell me. We should always owe that to the people, at least until they're completely out of your life. At that point, you can reestablish what is the parameters of this is the bare minimum we offer each other. So when I say no means no, it's about boundaries and it's about commitments. That's really what it is. The boundary is when someone tells you no, you have to respect that boundary. And you got to not go past that limit and get into that space because it's not fair to them. Now, there may be times when they say no as a reflex or a way to hurt you or a way to really establish a healthy boundary. But ultimately, that's not up for you to decide. What you need to do is you have to, and it's hard to do sometimes, especially, you get blocked on one social media, you may want to this, or they say, we need time out, and you say, I want to talk to you. Or I need to move out. In my case, it was I need, no means no. On this case was she needed to move out and find herself. And I didn't want her to, but I had to respect that boundary and I had to give her whatever she wanted. Sadly, it took too long and she lost me. I'm not emotionally connected to that desire to want to work this out anymore at all. And it's not because of things that happened before that, it's the things that happened after that. But that's for a later topic, way after the divorce is over, and I'll never mention names. But when I was in that moment, healthy boundaries and no means no contact was where I was at in my head. I don't want to go out and see her again because the last time I see her, it just hurt me. The time before that, I saw her, it hurt me. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to see her anymore until we go to court. And it was hard to stick to that. It really, really was hard to stick to that. And I kept thinking, when does my no mean no? When do I stop letting down my walls and letting people, from my perspective, that hurt me back in, or that are toxic for me back in, or that we are hurting each other back in? Either way, whatever vibration I'm at, it gets lowered each time that we're in physical proximity. Or whenever I lower my guard and we start talking about the relationship, because then there's these stab things that happen that hurt my feelings, intentional or not intentional. That's not for me to decide really at this point. My number one goal is to make me, to triage on me, to make sure I'm safe and I'm okay, and just stick to my nose. So it was hard. It was really, really hard because I wanted to tell her, come here. Please come here, because I didn't want to be alone. But I had to remember that I said no to myself, that I'm going to say no. This is a boundary. No, don't ask her to come to you. No, don't meet her for lunch anymore. No, don't do this. No, don't reconcile. No, don't go to counseling. No, don't do it, because my feelings have been pushed so far away from the possibility of working this out because of things that have happened. It would be dumb for me to do anything else. The evidence, the facts are there, and I've laid them out over and over in front of my head. I've written them down, and I've done them in ChatGPT. I've done them through Grok, and I'm like, during the separation, what does this mean? That mean? If a person does it to a person, does that mean they still love them? They this and that? And most things are saying that they're being selfish, and I don't want to be around. I don't want to commit to somebody that's selfish. I just don't. We all get like that, 100%. Like, I'm being selfish about not letting her back in, could be said too, 100%. But at my level, I don't want to be hurt again, and I don't want to reset the clock per se, because that's what happens every time you let that person back into your life. So the moral of this is going to be that when you guys say no, you have to be ready to back up that no. And don't say a no unless you really mean it too. You know, like I told you, there's different kinds of levels of no. There's the real one that needs to be respected. Then there's the one that the person wants. And then there's the one that the person does to hurt somebody else. Don't do that no either. Don't intentionally play games. Try not to anyhow, because it's an affair of the heart and it's hard to not get emotional about stuff. And I'm really proud of myself because I haven't done that. I don't know how I've done that. I've looked back at all my text messages. I've thought about all my phone calls and all my actions and everything else. And I feel really proud of myself because I took a high road. Nothing was done vindictively. There might have been some posts there where I'm like saying, you know, if somebody hurts you like this, that means that, but it wasn't directed at anybody. It's a feeling and it's an emotion. It can be seen as being hurtful towards another person. I'm sure it can be, but at the end of the day, Facebook is it's mine. You know what I mean? It's my social media, and those that don't want to see it can block me, or those that want to see it can put me on snooze. And people that already have blocked shouldn't be letting other people show them what I'm posting on there because we're blocked from each other. I never once have looked at hers. And when people say, hey, you want to see it? I go, no, I don't want to see it. I don't care. So the three no's means no's is going to be the real no, where you have to create a self boundary, a safe boundary. You have to have that. Then there's the no where you hope you want to be strong and you create a no, but you want to be strong. And then there's the no where you want to hurt somebody. You know, there's really only one that should be used because no is a weapon also. It stabs somebody, it hurts somebody. And what you don't want to do is, and it's hard to do, you really don't want to intentionally hurt the other person. You don't want to do that. You know, the courts, you know, they basically lay it all out whenever you file for divorce about being amicable, about maintaining the status quo of how the relationship was up until the day you go to court, and then let the judge decide what's the right thing to do. And that's why it's in there. It's in there. It's a court order that and that has to happen. If you have her on your insurance, you have to keep like that. If she has you on her cell phone bill, she has to keep it like that. There's marital assets, you guys can't sell it. If there's, you know, the whatever it is, it can't change. And so you still have to treat each other as husband and wife, at least on paper. You don't have to live together, you don't have to have sex, you don't have to be romantic, you don't have to, you know, but you have to be cordial and you have to be amicable towards each other, and you have to show good faith. So the first no still falls into that if it's about a healthy boundary and you can establish that. But you better be ready to prove that in the court of opinion, and sometimes even in court of law too, that it's not being vindictive or painful or hurtful or spiteful, and definitely not amicable. That's the word that they always use, amicable, good faith. They want to be able to talk about it. Courts are real serious about that kind of stuff. You know, this is my third marriage, and I know how serious the courts take that kind of stuff about being in good faith and amicable. So the first no is okay as long as you establish the fact that you got to view it from the points of the courts. How are the courts going to look at it too? If you can establish you did it for real, and the reason why is because you needed that safe boundary, or you needed to protect this asset, or kids were getting hurt in it, or your parents were being hurt, and you had to say, hey, no, you're not going to talk to my mom and my dad, or no, you're not going to treat my cousin like that, or no, you're not going to do that, or block them or something, you know, whatever it is. The no has to be looked at long term, but it's okay to do that no. The no that you want to be where you want to be, like you want to, I don't want to see you no more. So no, don't call me no more. That no, you know, ride that one out for a minute. Try to think that one out, because you're just adding more fuel to the fire. You know what I mean? We play games, unfortunately, and it's an affair of the heart, so it's easy to slip into that. But if you're saying no as a way to establish where you want to be, not where you should be, it's actually a better way of saying it, and I don't really know how to get it out there, and I'm pretty good at normally doing this. But like, let's say if you're at number 5 and you want to be at 8, and you say a no that's at number 8, rather than getting yourself to 8 and then say no, you're projecting where you want to be. And that's probably not a fair place, because you need to be able to establish where you're at emotionally too. You have to know if you're really at 8 to be able to say no at 8 level. That's where you want to be, because you don't want to say no's that you regret, because they get painful. And then you're going to end up, you know, you're going to feel sorry about that. And I don't know what that no may be, because lots of people have different no's. Sometimes it's blocking somebody. You get mad and you block somebody, and then you regret doing that. I did that. You know what I mean? I blocked somebody, and then I go, oh my God, why did I do that so wrong? I think I overreacted. But I said a no. You know, I said a no. You're not talking to me. No, I don't care about you. And then instantly I felt bad about that. I wasn't ready for that level at that point. You know, so I've been guilty of doing it too. And I know that she's been guilty of doing it to me. And so be careful of that no. The no of where you think you might want to be. And then the no for revenge, just don't do it, guys. I mean, whatever. Stay above that. Try to keep your side of the street clean. We don't want to act like that because, again, at the end of the day, no matter what she's done to you, no matter how you feel about her now, this is the woman that you loved and you cherish. It really is. She may have changed, but the memory of her at least deserves that respect as to the best of your ability. I know it's hard. I know it's hard, guys. I know it's hard. And trust me, I've been going through it too, man. Because I'm looking at her and I notice like, I think of all the painful things that have happened since the moment she left. And it's like, I'm upset, I'm hurt, I'm angry, and I want to say and create chaos. But, ultimately I have to honor the respect. I have to respect and honor the time and the depth of love that I shared with her. And you guys know this is true no matter what happens, man. Even if your wife cheated on you and you hate her now, there was a 2, 3, 5, 8, 12-year period where that was your world and she was your world. Things happen. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's correct. It doesn't mean you should accept that. But at least in the memory of that, try to behave like gentlemen throughout the whole thing, the best you can. Doesn't mean you got to be in close proximity of her and you got to be really close into her life and you got to answer every question that she has. And, oh, I got my tires flat. Can you come home? I'm going to help you. You don't have to be Captain Save-A-Ho either. So be careful of that extreme no. Try not to do it at all because that's the worst one because you'll feel bad about yourself. And again, we want to take the high road, guys, 100%. We don't want to be jerks. We don't want to be assholes. We don't want to regret stuff. Ultimately, that's where I'm at. I don't like regretting behaviors and actions. I just don't like doing it because I'm one of them people that I have to make an amends because I don't like that burden on me. It's a big like rock that hangs on my back and it starts to weigh me down and stuff. And I don't like that burden on me. almost 22 years ago, I got baptized. And so I try to keep my sins really minimal, really minimal. Being in recovery, I've worked steps and I try to keep my um, my wrongdoings towards other people to a minimum because in the 12 steps it tells you have to make an amends, immediately, directly. You have to make an amends. And it's so much better anyhow. It's not easier. It's so much better to not do the thing. When you're at home, scream in the pillow, yell, cuss, color all the cuss words you want to be able to do, whatever, it doesn't even matter. But in the world out there. So the 3 no's, and remember, no means no. Just keep that in your head. No means no. No doesn't mean no, that's where I want to be. Or no doesn't mean no, I want to hurt you. No means no. I do not accept this anymore. I don't want this anymore. This is my boundary, absolutely without a doubt. And this is my boundary that I want until I change my mind. I need this. I have to have this. And this is where I want to be. And when you make that decision, just remember about trying to be amicable. If you're going through a divorce part, being amicable. And also, you got to make sure that you act in good faith, okay? So no means no. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.